Hey everybody, my name is Clay McLeod Chapman, and this is a silly little video that I wanted to put together because this weekend I was supposed to be down in Washington, D.C. for something called AwesomeCon. I had been invited to be on a panel or two, and given unforeseen circumstances, I'm not gonna be there. But I did think it might be cool to answer some questions that you guys had. So I asked people on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and these were some of the questions I got. I'm gonna answer 3, and the first one comes from Justin at Instagram, and he asks, how do you develop characters' personas? Are they born out of plot and dialogue, or do they have to be imagined and realized before the plot and storytelling, story writing begins? It's a good question. Thank you, Justin. As it stands, for me, it starts with the story itself. So whatever the kind of core concept, I begin with that. And it's usually just a kind of nugget of an idea. And then as far as character goes, or the persona of a character goes, I kind of tend to root myself in the behind the steering wheel and kind of go from there. It's not so much that I have a specific character persona in mind as much as I want to give a character an opportunity to start telling their story. So in a sense, I'm basically just saying, hey, you're the narrator of this story, you're the main protagonist. Why don't you tell me your side of the story so that we can hear what you have to say? And just kind of by giving that character that permission, all of a sudden the rest of the story builds around it until we have, in essence, a short story. I think that kind of answers the question. But yeah, core concept first, story first, and then giving that narrator, selecting a narrator who I think is probably the worst person to tell that story and letting them have the keys to the car. Next up is Michael. And Michael over at Instagram has a question for this comic series I'm writing called Scream, Curse of Carnage. And his question goes as follows. You have plotted out issues for Scream. Do you have any plans to incorporate other characters into her book or bridge into Outlawed? Since Andy's around 19, she definitely falls into the affected age group, more for the event. I love the dynamic between Andy and Aunt May, and it would be nice to see more of that. Thank you. Hopefully she can move out of the shelter and make some progress to whatever normal is in the 616 when symbiotes are involved. First off, thank you for reading Scream. It's been a blast to write. And, as far as your question about Outlawed, at this point, there's no plan to, but I've learned never say never. You never know. But there are, in terms of incorporating other characters, yes, there are some other characters coming down the pike. Outbreaks notwithstanding, hopefully we'll be writing some more. But as it stands, I can't say who, but there are definitely some characters and some familiar faces who will be popping up in future issues. Let's just hope they make it to the stands. Fingers crossed. But I love that you loved the interplay between Aunt May and Andy in the first arc. And I'm hoping there'll be a little bit more of that. And I am hoping to kind of, show Andy making her way into a normal life, or at least, seeing the struggle or the kind of attempt to get to that place and asking the question, what is normal for Andy? So fingers crossed. It's a new world out there right now, so we'll see. And then finally, our last question comes from Jamie over at Facebook. Hey, Jamie. She asks, I want to talk about the Satanic Panic book. I also want to know what movies or books are your favorites or give you inspiration. Well, that's a good question. So I'm writing a new novel right now called Whisper Down the Lane. And as far as I know, it's coming out spring 2021, a year from now. I've been busy working on it all last year, and it will have, go into this year. Just waiting for edits, and we'll see if, my publisher's still talking to me, fingers crossed. But as it stands, I'm really, really, I was going to say really excited about it, but I'm nervous. I'm petrified. I have no idea if it's any good. I am still in a vacuum right now, so nobody other than a very close circle of friends and friendly reads have read it, and I'm just terrified. I have no concept of what I've done and who I am anymore. So I'm in the weeds. I've lost myself in this book. But luckily I have not written myself into the book, so I haven't gone full on adaptation yet. But in terms of books that inspired me, I kind of took the question specifically about the Satanic Panic book, Whisper Down the Lane. So I have brought my stack of research, and I'm going to show you, kind of give you a quick look-see. There is, of course, Michelle Remembers, which is by far, recommending it is a weird, word to throw your way, but yeah, it's an interesting one. Remembering Satan by Lawrence Wright. This one was a doozy. Talks a lot about false confessions, and recovered memories, and it was, you can't make this stuff up. This is how, truth is going to be much, much stranger than fiction. This is a fundamental text. I think that if anyone's going to be doing research on the Satanic Panic period in the 80s, then, they have to look at this book. This was an amazing book. We Believe the Children. I would say that this is the benchmark of, if I had to pick one book, it would probably be this one. And I crib liberally from it for the novel. So I have to say thank you to Richard Beck, because this was one of the first books I read, and it was definitely one of the best. And then last, this one was a really great book called Satanic Panic, and it's basically just a bunch of essays with, beautiful layouts and pictures of all the different kind of periods of that time, and pop culture in particular, and I would wholeheartedly recommend it. And then on the writing front, I gotta say, I bow down to the altar of people like William Peter Blatty. I read Ira Levin a million times, Rosemary's Baby a million times, Roland Topper with The Tenet. That was a huge kind of inspiration for the book. But yeah, I wanted to kind of get that kind of dime store paperback bestseller, Exorcist style, Rosemary's Baby style, what's happening kind of mental trap that goes in and around the novel. And, I can't hold a candle to those authors, but it was definitely, they were my inspiration. The books, the movies are amazing too, of course, but as far as The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby, and The Tenet, I wanted to go back to the source material themselves, the actual novels, rather than the movies. But of course I watched the movies too. That does it. Thank you so much for asking me these questions, guys. I feel very silly, but I wanted to give this a try. If we want to do this again, if anyone has any questions, do the questions, just ask a question in the comment section, and maybe we'll make another video. Who knows? But until then, thank you very much. Hope you guys are doing well. Stay safe.